So I'm going to begin. Welcome to Power Conversations. This is a digital program which brings together influential voices to discuss critical issues, all of these intended to shape our society, our economy, to help our culture grow. And today is a special day because we have two guests. And those two guests, one, they both are involved in sports. One is the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Road Runners Association, Road Runners Club. Welcome, Deborah. Welcome to our program. Good morning.
Good morning, Denise, and all the listeners. Hope you all are hearing me clearly.
Yes, we are hearing you clearly, and you're looking good, so we could continue.
You might be hearing my dog as well, but let's just ignore that.
And that's fine, because most of us have some kind of pet, and that's
Yes,
absolutely wonderful that your
yes,
dog is there and you're not trying to make him hush.
yes.
So, as you join our program, tell us something about your background. Who are you?
Well, I am Debra Agong. I have what people tend to consider a unique personal story. So I was born in England to parents from St. Vincent and Uganda, but raised mostly in Trinidad. I came to Trinidad when I was 4 years old. I lived in Diego Martin my entire life, and I love it. I don't hope to ever leave Diego Martin. um, and I went to school in Diego Martin, and I went to St. Francois Girls College, which were some of my, as most people might testify, good and not so good years when it comes to you as a person, but that's normal. And then I went to university, UE, Arthur Lockjack, and I've begun my running journey about 20 years ago.
You began your running journey 20 years ago.
Yes.
What inspired you to start a run?
Well, like a lot of women, um, I had weight issues. And I would say still have, because it's something like I consider it like almost like an addict who always has these issues going through life, but you just try to manage it. And that was how I started. I actually started in fitness center gym. My aunt encouraged me because she was a big fitness enthusiast and fitness center in Diego Martin. And I was in the gym, going along as normal. And then I met Howard Dutton and Simon Gonzalez, and they were regulars at that gym. But they also did a running day. One of their days, I think it was a Wednesday, they would go running around the area. And for some reason, I think because I always grew up in a family of sport, so I accustomed watching the Olympics and seeing track and field, and I always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to be a runner too. So this one morning, I decided I would go with them. It was 5 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. And I remember we left from Starlight Plaza Fitness Center gym, and we ran, I don't think it was even a mile, from Fitness Center to West Moorings. And I had to turn back because I couldn't keep up. And well, needless to say, I was highly embarrassed, felt terrible about myself. And I went back in the gym and ran on the treadmill for about half an hour or an hour, just to, I don't know, just to kind of get rid of some of the embarrassment and disappointment that I couldn't make it. And after that, I mean, I didn't really journey back into running at all. I just kept in the gym, and I became a gym rat, as you would call it. So in the gym all the time. And then I met Rhonda Simmons, now Rhonda Simmons Doyle, who is the wife of one of the members of the club, Glenn. And we met at the gym actually, and we would always want to go and do I think Scotia used to have their 5K. That was the biggest 5K at the time, and we decided we're going to do it. And so that is really how I started. We started doing a little bit of running here and there. I had actually attempted one before some years prior, but seriously we said, okay, we're going to do this. And so, like most novices, we went out 2 days before to train for the race. and that's how we got into it. And I don't know, I something about um that one of those races made me inspired to want to continue. On top of that, her husband Glenn, who I mentioned, was in the club, and we started going around the club by the savannah. And I have to be honest, what kind of made me stay was actually the atmosphere and the environment of the person created by the persons who were in the club. That is what made me keep coming back. At the time, the running was secondary, but I just loved that atmosphere. And then I started running and really enjoying it. I don't know, maybe it's those endorphins that people talk about that you get after, but that is what kept me, made me want to continue. And then added to that, the weight was melting off.
Mhm, mhm.
Reasons, the environment of the club, that feeling that I got when I finished running, and the weight management aspect of it.
And look at it, almost 20 years later, you're now
20
the
years.
president.
Yes, at the time, yes.
How is that as the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Roadrunners Club? Because how old is the club?
The club is at present 39 years old, which I am very proud of. I suspect it's the oldest club of its kind in the Caribbean. We are not a track-based club. We are middle and long distance on the road. So I stand corrected on that fact. But I think we are one of the oldest in the Caribbean. And I didn't start off as president. I've always been somebody who was into volunteerism on committees and so on. So whether it was at home in the management committee at home, or any kind of little groups, it's something I've always liked, volunteering for those kinds of opportunities. And I started off as one of just the members of the committee because our club is run by a committee. It's not owned by any one person. And so during the years, I was different positions on that committee. And one year I think we were struggling for persons to step up because a lot of people don't like that responsibility. How I will do, I will get judged. I'll have to set aside time to do it. And I agreed under a little duress. I was a little nervous about it, but I said, okay, I will take up the responsibility. And it's been a few years, well, as the president. It has its ups and downs, but generally I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Trinidad and Tobago Roadrunners Club is 39 years. What would you say has been its contribution to our society?
Well, I think one of the main things is that our brand, I think, is recognizable, at least in the running community. And I think we have contributed tremendously to keeping persons interested in running. And by that, I would say we have two sides of the club. We had a race management side, which is more of a kind of business side, you would call it. And then we have the side where we just concentrate on running and social activities. And through the years, this was started by persons in the past like Anthony Apoy and some other members, Anthony Saloom, Francis William Smith, George Caruth. They conceptualize, actually helping other races, other organizations host 5Ks, doing the whole event management and the race management. And they were one of the first, I think the first, to actually get into that industry where they would, get the bibs, organize the events, provide guidance to the results, helping with 5Ks. And I think that is one of the major contributions that the club has made over the years. And I mean, it has been mushrooming now, especially post COVID. And then there are other companies actually coming in and doing similar activities. And I think that has really been one of the major contributions to the running community and the environment and the nation as such, because we get people continuing to exercise and to enjoy running.
Yeah. So what you've said is that Roadrunners initially helped with the structure of races,
Yes,
managing races, and
yes,
now that has transitioned into a business for some people.
yes,
But
yes.
Roadrunners continues to be a voluntary organization, so it's not a business as such.
It's not a no. Yeah, and I mean we don't get paid personally for doing it, so that everything we do goes into the club to help us to continue that. And we have taken a little bit of a step back recently, especially with all the other businesses coming up and advancing. And I think because our aim has never been money making, so we may get a little bit of money out of it, which we put back into the club and to the members. But it has always been, and one of the reasons for the creation of the club in our constitution is really to promote road running in the country. And if we can do that in any way, which is the sort of like the business side, and we're also putting our members out there to participate, well, that's what we do. So, it's more about enjoyment and encouragement of other
Mhm.
persons.
The Trinidad and Tobago Marathon, is that an activity that Roadrunners has participated in?
Absolutely. That was one of my first foray, my real foray into the club. My introduction was doing a marathon in 2005. I think was the first time. And I think we always had one of the largest teams in the Trinidad and Tobago Marathon. Um, we would have probably about 30 members participating for many, many years, and all the way up until the marathons, local marathon sort of changed. It's a different iteration of it now, but it's still there, and we still have members participating. We still have a lot of members participating, and we always still encourage persons to participate. Um, I know that you know recently there has been a little bit of grumbling about the marathon, and can it survive? Why is it not the same persons having issues? And some people even wanting to boycott, but we have never encouraged that. I always encourage people, doing a marathon is a personal decision, it's a personal sacrifice, and it's something that is a really major achievement for a lot of people. So I always say, if that is your goal, do it, and we will support. And even when some of us are not running, we are out there supporting, providing drinks, transportation, just encouragement. But we always support the Trinidad and Tobago Marathon in whatever version it is. If our expertise or opinion is required in terms of how to improve it, we will do that. But we support most local sporting activities,
How many
especially in
marathons
terms
have
of
you
running.
done?
Pardon me?
How many marathons have you done?
Me, I have done 14 full marathons, not
14.
5K marathons, people, full 26.2 marathons, both locally and abroad.
Yeah,
Yes,
lovely. Congratulations on that.
thank you.
14 full
14.
marathons is a tremendous achievement. And
Yes,
I certainly hope that you will continue, because this country needs to see that people can do things, we can achieve things. So
yes.
people like you, if you continue doing the marathon, you would make a difference and you would send a message.
Yes, and to let people know, I am a regular person. I go to work every day. I do chores at home, take care of the noisy dogs, have to go to the grocery, but you also have to find time. And that is one of the biggest things that some people will want to dedicate when it comes to a marathon. It seems daunting. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to have an athletic body even to do it. You don't have to be fast. You just have to set your mind to wanting to achieve that goal. And I think, running is one of the running a marathon, I should say, is one of the best feelings that you can have when you completed it. Denise, you could probably attest to that as well, because you have been right there with us, doing those marathons. We know the struggles of the training, and it's a nice achievement for anybody and a good way to stay fit.
It is. It is a good way to stay fit and healthy. And it is a personal accomplishment that you don't need anybody to tell you congratulations.
Yes.
Once you hit the finishing line of a marathon, when I do it, I don't care about anybody. You could say what you like about me. I've
Hmm.
done it. So it's 39 years. How are you
Yes.
celebrating your 39th anniversary or 39 year of contributing to this country?
Well, we don't really have a 39th anniversary celebration. And what we are doing this year is we are relaunching our road race, which we call Tempo in C. It's usually held at Shagar, and we're going back there this year. So we wanted to, and now I know many years ago, before my time, I've always heard that, TNT Roadrunners would have a relay series and so on around the savannah. So we always had a presence in the road running industry in terms of having its own race. But a few years ago, we decided let's make it a little unique. We do 5 miles because that is not a distance that you ever hear of. You hear 5K, 10K, mostly 5Ks around. And we said, let's do 5 miles. So it's in between for the persons who want a little bit of a challenge, but those who don't want the pressure of having to go 6 miles or more. And so that is what we did. We had it in Shagaramas and it was successful. Um, so we decided that next year will be our 40th anniversary, which I think is a major achievement. So leading up to that, we will do a series of activities, one of which was to reintroduce our Tempo in series, which went on hiatus just before COVID. So we were planning actually to have it in 2020 and canceled it just before the lockdown occurred. And since then, we haven't had it, and there have been a lot of races coming up. So we decided, you know what, let us re enter the scene. And so the race is coming up on Sunday, September 8th. And that is one of the ways that we decided to, start our celebrations. Next year, our intention is to have a bigger celebration with different activities throughout the year to celebrate 40 years.
Okay, so Tempo in C. That's a
Mhm.
strange name for me. What is that?
It is very strange, and I have to admit, I was not a fan of the name because I didn't create the name. It was created by Anthony Stroud, who was a member of the club. I always I ask different people, what does this C mean? What is this tempo in C? And the answer I got is the C is stands for Shagaramas. So I don't know if we're going to always have to be in Shagaramas or we're going to have to change it to tempo in T if we move to town or tempo in P if we move to Port of Spain. But it's just about celebrating the area where we're going to be, the big C Shagaramas, and well tempo. I guess you could imagine what that means. It might be a fierce fight for some people. It might be pace, as we call it. But for others, it will just be an enjoyable environment and atmosphere.
Mhm, mhm. Tell me a little bit about the Shagaramas atmosphere for running.
So it is quite popular for persons, not only from the Western Peninsula, but people come from as far as east to run in Shagaramas because number one, well, we now have the strip that is dedicated to persons who are running and cycling. Um, So it's a little bit safer. You're not running necessarily in the road. It's a area that is cordoned off for runners, like a running path. The air is so cool and crisp, especially in the morning, because of the amount of greenery that there is in Shagaramas. So that is another benefit. Yes, you have cars passing, but not as much as if you were running in Port of Spain around the savannah. So you have the running strip, you have that crisp, clean air, and then aesthetically, it is beautiful because of that greenery. You have greenery on both sides of the road, which are always long running paths. You hear animals. You might see animals sometimes as well. There are waterways, there are trails. There's a lot of nature that is very attractive to someone who just wants to run in a really nice, peaceful, and clean environment. And let me
Lovely.
say clean too. The roadways are clean. So, you're not necessarily running by piles of rubbish or, debris and that sort of thing. So it's really a nice, clean atmosphere. It will be cool and it's something that everyone should experience. And when you finish, you can go and take a dip because there's also Macquarie Beach there. There's the Shagaramas Boardwalk. So it offers you a lot. And then there are places to eat. It's a all-in-one atmosphere and environment that you would enjoy.
Lovely. So tell us, your road race this weekend on the 8th.
Mhm.
Can people register for it?
Unfortunately, it has reached its maximum. So we have sold out. We started small this year and we have reached the maximum. And I have to say thank you to all those who have supported. We have had a lot of support from other running clubs, WDA, One a Week, Sweaters, One More Mile. Many other popular running clubs have supported this race and we are thankful for that. So registration has closed, unfortunately. But you can still come down and support if you want to cheer on your fellow runners, just be in the atmosphere and around, you can do that. But we have no more space available. Now, if spaces do pop up, because some people sometimes may cancel and want to sell their bib, you can always contact us and we will see how best we could help do that. But for now, it is closed.
And that is absolutely brilliant. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Having come back into the scene, you all
Mhm.
have sold out the race. That is absolutely wonderful. Tell me
Yes.
a little bit about where the race will start and what the path it will take.
Okay, so the race, well, our base for the race is Pier 2 Shagaramas. So for anybody who doesn't know, it's between Pier 1 and Five Islands Water Park along the Western Main Road, I believe that is, in Shagaramas. But so that is where the race will finish. That's where all the activities will occur at the end of the race. The race actually starts on Tucker Valley Road, or as we call it, Macareep Road, probably about a mile in to the road, because in order to get the 5 mile distance and also to benefit from some of the lovely scenery at the golf course, we had to push it forward a bit. So it is an out and back race. So it will start there, run into Belleran Road, or Golf Course Road as we call it locally. Just turn around and come back and finish at Pier 2 in Shagaramas. So it is, especially the Golf Course Road will be closed. The CDA has agreed to help us with the traffic management, so it should be safe. There will be mile markers, there will be water, Gatorade. You might even get some doubles at the end. So it's a great event. So the course will be, I think, partially closed, but the parts that are not closed will be manned by it will be cordoned off, and the Shagaramas Development Authority will be assisting us to keep runners safe on the road.
That's such a, it sounds so lovely. And I'm surprised that it didn't go down to Macreep to the beach. So it just goes around the golf course.
Maybe next time, next time we will try that route.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, Chagramas is absolutely lovely.
Yes.
So as you come to this big race under your presidency,
Mm,
what, what do you think? Congratulations. And
thank
what
you.
are your thoughts for the future of Roadrunners Club and road running in Trinidad and Tobago? What can we do?
Um, I would like to see M3s get more involved in road running. Maybe that is one of the ways to help boost it a bit. And it doesn't necessarily have to be financial, although that would help. But maybe they can host some races as well, because there's a lot of emphasis on track events, and and I know we have a history there, and a quite good, positive, successful history. But I would like to see them also give a little bit more attention to road running. Make it maybe almost as popular as the track events, and that's what I would like to see nationally. I would like to see more facilities for persons who run, because a lot of persons, um, we run in parks like Eddie Hart, we run in the savannah, we run down Shagaramas, but simple things like a bathroom. Now I know there's bathrooms at the savannah and the Queen's Park Savannah and the Botanical Gardens, but in other areas, sometimes you're running and the bathrooms are closed and not available. And so I would like to see those types of infrastructure put in place to assist persons. And it wouldn't only be for runners, it would be for anybody who is out there participating in sport. You know, those kinds of initiatives that are dedicated to sports that you may see in other jurisdictions. Those types of initiatives I'd like to see. In terms of the club, I would just like us to continue going from strength to strength. We have survived 40 years. And one of the reasons I think that is because of how the club is set up, in terms of not having a owner, but more of a constitution that is governed by a committee. And so if the owner gets vexed and decide to leave, the club won't fall apart. Um, we are very diverse in terms of our socio-economic background, education-wise, and I think that helps us stick together. Um, and I'd like us to maybe produce more runners who can compete nationally. Right now we have Nicholas Romani, who is the top local runner here, and he's been doing excellent. He started running under the guidance of Larry Lazama, and Larry is one of our probably most senior member. Yes, I see your face light up when you mention Larry. We know why. Yes, very popular member on the circuit, running circuit, and in the club. And so that's how Nicholas started, but eventually branched off training now with Jason Paris. And he's been doing excellent. And he's been afforded the opportunity, or I should say, earned the opportunity to represent Trinidad and Tobago in regionally um, in road races. And so maybe we can probably have maybe on the female side one or two of those other runners. But if that doesn't happen, we are quite happy contributing locally and continuing to be a presence on the savannah and now nationwide wherever there are races.
Thank you ever so much, Deborah. And as I say goodbye to you, what would you like to say?
Well, I just like to say, well, thank you for having me, Denise. It was a pleasure to share this information about the club, our history, and where we hope to go. And I just want to encourage people to get out there and continue to try and exercise and be fit. We always hear about our ranking nationally in terms of non-communicable diseases and that sort of thing. And being fit, whether it's exercising, swimming, as I see Mr. Roberts there, and reminds me of that. And any other sport that you can do, take it up, no matter how old you are. It helps keep the body and mind in check. And I could speak about the body now because I'm getting down there where I can envision being in pain and the knees hurting and all those kind of things. But you could imagine if I wasn't fit, it might have been 10 times worse.
Yeah.
So, just encourage people to continue being active. And, if you're looking for a running club where we like to train, but we also like to line too. So we will take a drink when the time is right. So we have that kind of fun atmosphere, and everybody is welcome. So if you're looking for that, come and join us. We meet by the Savannah opposite QRC, the bench closest to the roundabout at Marva Road. You can always find us there. Come and say hello and jump in for a run whenever you want. And we'll see everybody on Sunday in Shagaramas for our 5 mile road race.
Thank you ever so much, Deborah. See you another time.
Yes, thank you for
And
having me.
you're welcome.
Goodbye.
And
Goodbye.
goodbye, Deborah. And I welcome Anil Roberts to our program on Power Conversations. Anil, it is so good to have you here. Tell me something. What about you that people don't know?
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be on. I'm not sure, but sports wise, I would say I got into sport because my parents were not athletes and they could not swim. And they had three boys. They were lawyers working hard, and they realized my mother came across the globe from Malaysia, met my father at university studying law, got married and did not go back east. She came west to Trinidad and Tobago, and she could not swim. She came around this twin island republic. Everywhere is water, river, sea, down the islands, beach. And she was panicked that her three boys would not be safe. So she put us into swimming. And we lived in Maracas Valley, St. Joseph, 59 Valley View Drive. And there was a lady there called Miss Lachlan who was doing Learn to Swim. I was 4 years old. My older brother was 5. And my younger brother didn't start for a year after Shastri, who turned out to be the best out of all of us by far. But when we went there, we started to learn to swim. And somehow, some way, we had talent. Now, where that came from, we're not too sure. Even though my father has Tobago roots, so I feel it might have come from my grandfather or my grandmother or somewhere. And so we continued in swimming. We joined Torpedo Swim Club up there in the east, and then into Abbey Accolades and Lasses, and then becoming national champions and seeing the Marlin Swim Club from Westmoreland was ruling the roost. And my father is one of those that if you're showing talent, he wants to get the best opportunities for you. So we eventually moved down to the west. He bought a house in 1980 in Newbury Hill, becoming the first family of color to buy a house down there. There was a story behind that. Some of the neighbors tried to offer the man, Mr. Dayson, an extra set of money not to sell when they found out it was my father. That's a different topic for a different time. But we moved down to Marlins. I won my first national championship as an 8 and under back in 1977. And before that, swimming was not a sport that many people of different hues were involved in. The great champions before that were Jeffrey Ferreira. The sport was mostly an affluent kind of sport. You had to be a member of the country club, or you had to live in Westmoreland or Goodwood Park, and so on. So we became sort of the first family of color to dominate. I started to dominate swimming 8 and under into 10 and under in 1979, making my first national team. So that's where the love and passion came from. But also, I must say, I went to one of the best primary schools in the history of the Caribbean, the UWI Primary School, which the principal was a lady, the most brilliant, genius, courteous, intelligent, amazing woman called Anil Giuseppe. And she was not only a stickler for education, for the arts, she believed in extracurricular, in the combination and balance in education of sport. So at UWI Primary School under Miss Anil Giuseppe and also Professor Kenny's wife, Mrs. Gillian Kenny, and Miss Joseph, UWI Primary School not only prepared you for common entrance, but there was sport in every aspect. We play rounders, baseball, football, cricket. I remember when we had PE classes, when we see dark clouds coming over the northern range, we would literally cry because we look forward to going to play football with Mr. Wong. I played my first football match at 8 years old on Nestle ground. And all I can remember is somehow as a skinny small fella, it's hard to believe I was very skinny, I had six-pack and thing back then, and a full afro, which was a bit tinged bronze from the chlorine. But I made my first tackle there against some big fellas because, in primary school, and up to today, it's a problem. We have children who are 13 and 14 playing primary school football, which is not very good. The national champions in the Atlantic Primary School, it's an under 14 tournament. I took O levels and got 7 1s and a 2 and an A at 15 years old in Fatima College. So I don't understand why we have children 13 and 14 in primary school. That's a different topic. So the idea of yes, but that's where the sport and the love for the sport came from. Now, over the years, while I was swimming, I would notice and see things that maybe I didn't have as much natural talent as some of the Puerto Ricans, the Cubans, the Venezuelans, the Costa Ricans that we were coming up against. And I would have to figure out ways with my coaches, Jappy Cheaping, Choco Aloy, and so on from Marlins, how to win, how to strategize, what to do, how to get fitter, how to make up for the deficit of natural given genetic ability, like some of the athletes that have been privileged to coach. I didn't get to coach my younger brother. Now, if I had, I think he would have brought an Olympic medal because he was incredible. He had those flexible ankles. His cardiovascular system was incredible. His ability to kick and generate a nice high body position in the water was amazing. I was not blessed with those flexible ankles. So I used to try to win more with my shoulders and upper body while doing a 2-beat crossover kick, which is different. Now you see all these swimmers, you see like an engine behind them. That's called a 6-beat kick. It takes a lot of effort, but it also means your ankles have to be very flexible to generate and to create that swirl in the vortices of the water, to lift your body up like a power boat. But what happened is, because I lacked the genetic ability, I had to use my brain and listen and talk to my coaches and so on. So I ended up being a much better coach than I was an athlete. The passion for the sport was further inculcated by my father, who, once he's doing something, he wanted to be the best at it. He's a solicitor. He was the best. He could give a speech, even now at 83. He could give you a speech without a piece of paper and remember dates, times, events, off the top of his head and use words. His vocabulary is still more expansive than mine ever will be. You know, you will give you words in normal conversation, debates in the porch, indubitably, and go on. And you have to go and check up if you can't argue, if you can't debate in the porch, if you can't understand sport, then you could not sit there. He became the president of the Swimming Federation, Swimming Association back in the early 80s. And now that you see swimming, when you look at swimming now, take a look, all of you all after this interview, go and see the national champions, go and see the pictures of the Carifta team, the Goodwill team. You will see a true representation of Trinidad and Tobago. Every race, every creed, girls, boys, mixed up, everything. I can proudly say that was due to my father back in 1981 to 85, when he brought about the advent of the primary schools competition, the secondary schools competition, including all government schools opening up sport across the board. So it became, swimming became a national sport rather than a sport just for some select few. So from primary school into Fatima College, the greatest college, my father will disagree, he went QRC, but the greatest college on the Twin Island Republic. Uh, I
So,
went in there,
Anil,
yes,
you've moved from the greatest primary school to the greatest secondary
yes,
school. Tell me
correct.
something. What are you proud of as a coach?
Well, let me put it this way, many things, but it may strike you as weird. But the proudest moment in my coaching career, nobody will know about it. It's when a girl came to the club, because people may know about the George Bovels, the Leah Martindale, who became the first black woman to ever make an Olympic swimming final in history of the planet in 1996, coming fifth in the 50-meter free. There was a girl, an African girl from the Netherlands, who in 1972 made a final in the relay. But Liam Martindale of Barbados, who came to live in my mother's house in Newbury Hill and went to St. Joseph Convent and trained right here on our soil in Queen's Park Hotel, which is now TGI Friday. When she made that final in 1996, it was the first time a black woman stood up in an Olympic swimming final. She finished fifth. In fact, a young girl who was 4 years old, her family was watching that Atlanta Olympics, and they realized in the USA that black people could swim, that we could take part. And she got into swimming, and in 2016 became the first black woman to ever win a gold medal in the 100 meters freestyle. So that is a very proud moment. You have to understand, the scientists in the USA, in the Congress and so on, back in the 60s and 70s, was saying that black people couldn't swim. That way our body, our musculature, our bone structure was too dense and we would sink and so on. Anthony Nesty obliterated that myth in 1988, winning gold for Suriname, and he has Trinidad heritage, Trinidad and Tobago heritage, by the way. So we debunked that. But my proudest moment, there was a young lady, had no skill whatsoever, Denise, when I tell you, no athletic ability, very bright girl, but she was willing to listen to everything I said. It was the daughter of former Minister of Health, John Eckstein. Her name was Chantal Eckstein. She had no skill, none whatsoever, no feel for the water, no coordination, no fast twitch fibers, no cardiovascular system. You would look at this child as a coach and say, well, boy, you're wasting time. Best she go and play chess or Scrabble, draft, study hard, get 20 ones. But she was, the look in her eye from day one, just every word I would say, she would try her best. So I then designed and focused on her to see what we could do. And to cut a long story short, she eventually won a national title in the short course national championships in a 100-meter butterfly. And that, I still get goosebumps thinking about that. Seeing that child, that when you saw them first and foremost, you knew everything that she shouldn't be in this sport. And for her to win a Trinidad and Tobago national title in a 100-meter butterfly in the 11 to 12 age group, I think the 11 to 12 or 13 or 14 age group, was incredible and stands as one of my proudest moments, because People might say, boy, everything is about Olympics and gold medals and so on. That is the dream. That's what you want. But when you have a George Bovell, anywhere he go, God produced that to swim. I first met George Bovell parents in 1993, where you see that race is going to start on Sunday, and something called Pier 1 was being opened. And I told Barbara and George back then, I said, because I just started coaching and I had Sangeeta Puri, who was just making waves. Now, from the club Piranha Aquatics was coming up. And I told them, I said, listen, Barbara, George, that little boy you all have there called George, he is an Olympic champion. A world. They laugh at me. They need one of them laugh. They say, Anil, but the boy can't even win a local race. He come in fourth and fifth because back then we had swimmers like Kemi George, son of NIDCO chairman Herbert George right now. Him and his sister, but he was winning all the 10 and under races. George Bovell was coming fourth and fifth. I said, forget about what he's coming now. The body position, the body type, the muscular skeletal that I'm seeing with him, the low body fat, the way he floats in the water, his body position, that is all world class. The feel for the water, it's when you see someone swimming and they look effortless, that's what we call the feel for the water. Some people have it, some people don't. You can't teach it, but if you have it, it's an incredible advantage. Well, George Bovell didn't take me on for 8 years. He spent his money and went all over the world. Went to Bowles High School in Jacksonville, where you used to pay like 12,000 to 15,000 US per semester. He came down to the Caribbean Championships in 2001 in Bahamas when they had now completed that spanking new 50-meter facility. And a Bajan boy called Damian Allen held on to George Bovell and beat him in a 200 freestyle. When I tell you on the third length, 200 freestyle is all ups. This Bajan boy kick and move away from George. The whole place went wild and they couldn't believe and so on. And I sat down there I can't take licks, so I was upset, sitting down quiet while everybody's celebrating. And George Bovell's father was sitting down next to me. And Denise, I can't lie to tell you, I hit him some of the best French in my life. Very strong French. Because I was embarrassed and hurt. And I told him in a nutshell that this boy should never beat your son. You're embarrassing your son because you're going all over the world in search of what you have sitting on right next to you. So I told him, bring him home. And we had World Championships 3 months later in Fukuoka, Japan. I brought him, George listened and brought him home. I coached him for 3 months. We went to Fukuoka, Japan. And in the heat of the 200 freestyle, he went out in a 55 seconds and came back the second 155 seconds and made the semifinal in the 200 freestyle. Beat the same Barbadian boy, Damian Allen, by 3 seconds, 3.85 seconds. Then went on in the 200 IM after the heat to move from 44th in the world to number 1 in the world. When we went to the warm down pool, Denise, all of these Japanese cameras, about 40 or 50, George is swimming down to recover because you have the semi-final in the evening, then the next day you'll have the final. So we're there trying to get the lactic acid out of the muscles, recover, lower the heart rate and so on. And these Japanese cameramen, they just harassing me. TRI, now we are TTO, but back in 2001, we were TRI. And they say, what is TRI? TRI, I don't know. I say Trinidad and Tobago, Caribbean, southernmost, close to South America. I say steel pan, limbo. They don't understand. I say oil and gas, TRI, Trinidad. They're watching me like, what are you talking about? Eventually I said, Atto Bolden. And all of them are all 40, 50 of them, the eyes light up and they, Trinidad, Tobago, Atto Bolden, son, that's the power of sport. They knew our country because Atto Bolden had won 2 bronze medals in 96, a gold medal in the 97 World Championship in the 200 and a silver and bronze.
And in Europe, if you say Brian Lara, Europe and India, if you say Brian Lara, they know Trinidad and Tobago. So it is another example of how sports can help with our communication and help with us. But Anil, we only have about 10 more minutes. You
Oh,
are so
what?
passionate. You are so passionate about swimming. My question to you is, what could we do to improve our performance at the 2028 Olympics?
Okay, good question. 10 minutes, let me go. First and foremost, not only in swimming, but across the board, we have to respect sport. You see what you just said in a nutshell? That the whole world knows us because of Brian Lara. That's the power of sport. So we have to start understanding the beauty that sport represents us, that markets, there's no value. Sport is priceless. So when people start saying, you're investing in sport, you're putting this money, it's a waste of money, it's not. You can get no better marketing or exposition of your culture, your heritage, your history, your ancestry than sport. That's why all of the great countries in the world, the second most important program is sporting program for those who are in socialist countries. When you see Cuba and Castro took over, he went on two basic items. One was healthcare for his people and medical incentive and innovation and sport. Castro hosted the 1982 CAC Games, but he had already put in place a grassroots program of coaches, science, understanding, education. He trained and coached his coaches just like they were doctors. So it wasn't just about you did this sport, so let's coach and just go through. There is a science in coaching that we in Trinidad and Tobago have not accepted. We must embrace it. You cannot just say you're a coach because you kick a ball or because you ran a 100 or you ran a marathon. You have to understand children of different ages. You have to understand talent identification. What makes an athlete good? Many parents come up to me and say, Anil, my child is doing so good in gymnastics and 4 or 5 years old. And when I look at the father is like 6'3" and the mother is 5'10". There's no gymnast above 4 foot tall. So already they don't even understand that they're in the wrong sport. Now, gymnastics might be good and form the basis for success in any other sport, whether it be basketball, football, volleyball, whatever. But you're not going to have a girl gymnast who's 5'7" or 5'8". It's impossible because the amount of rotations and twists that you have to do, it's for a shorter athlete, okay? So we have to have people in the primary schools and in the communities across Trinidad and Tobago who can identify talent. We had sports development officers in the Ministry of Sport. They've all been fired. We need to replace them, get more, get them back inside, get them in every primary school. And then you have to teach them what are the general things you're looking for in different sports to create the beginning of pathways. So you look at the parents, you look at the fast twitch fibers, you test them to see their cardiovascular fitness. Will they be a sprinter? Will they go into marathon running? We also need to understand, while I love you all with your marathon running and so on, we culturally are at a disadvantage compared with the rest of the world. Kenya, Ethiopia, Japan, Mexico. Their history has been a hard history, a history of hard work, discipline, the kind of torture that you have to take to run a marathon in 2 hours and 2 minutes. We are carnival, we are soca, we are culture, we are public holiday. We are, oh Lord, stress, let me take a little rum and soda and cool myself. We are go and dress up nice, look good, listen to Steel Pan. So you will have to change the culture if you want to see success in certain events that require that sort of pain. When you see the boxers, yes, we have had 1 or 2 boxers, Claude Noel, Leslie Tiger Stewart, and so on, Giselle Salandi. But to get the sort of fight, the hunger of boxers from countries that are impoverished and they know that they fight for everything from the time they're in the womb, they fight for survival to come out. It's different. So we have to realize where our talent lies. Our talent lies in creativity, brilliance, fast twitch fibers, coordination. On the football field, we have to look for athletes that are amazing, but then we have to understand that when you are a creative artist on the football field, you cannot treat that artist like a normal soldier. They are built differently. So coaches have to understand every individual is different. How I talk to you, I make you, if I coaching you and I buff you, you might get vexed and you done. You gone home because you don't like loud talking and shout and so on. If I have another athlete, I may be able to boost them and encourage them, and they will bring out their performance. Coaches have to understand we have to plan physiologically and psychologically after we identify talent. Coaches must keep educating ourselves. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have the most experts who have achieved nothing. It's the greatest thing. I'm the best. I said, but boss, what you do? You're a basketball coach. How many children you got into high school, college, All-American, McDonald's All-American, university, which division? What? Oh, none yet. But boy, if I had a chance, I said, but you had a chance. Look, we need to understand merit-based.
2028, if you could be in charge, what would you focus on?
2028 is a bit short, to tell you the truth, because we are in a very big hole. And I'm seeing some young female athletes on the track that are looking good. And they're outside on programs that, God willing, they stay healthy, we could get something. But really and truly, we have to think about 2036. Get down in the primary schools, educate coaches, get the teachers, find teachers who have an interest. You might like road running, but that means you have a love for sport. Educate them, tell them what to look for, how to find children who playing rounders or hopscotch. Look how that child jumping from one block to the next. That could be springy, that could be volleyball, that could be sprinting 100. Get people's eyes, adults' eyes, to find the talent, funnel it, invest in it, and then hopefully down the line, once we create a culture and a passion and a love and support, we as people, let's go and support. Look, Tobago, we playing football. All you go over Tobago on the boat and go and pack the Dwight York Stadium, support early, support now. Yes, our football team is not good. It don't matter who coaching, we will get licks. But you have to support when you know you're going to get licks too, and eventually you will lift the level. I still supported Manchester United, and it's 12 years of torture, 12 years of pain. Yesterday was pain to see that licks we get from Liverpool.
So, Anil, you are saying that Trinidad is unlikely to perform well in the Olympics until 2036.
That's if we do something now. If we do nothing now, you're then going further out.
Okay, so Anil, give me one thing you would do if you had the opportunity to just transform one thing. What would you do?
I would put a qualified coach in every primary school across Trinidad and Tobago, pump money into primary school talent identification, sport curriculum, discipline, go in all the areas that are at risk, because that's where the real talent is. That's where the mindset is. Those children who come up hard, there's a benefit from coming up hard. You get mentally tough. You could do the work necessary to beat the world. When we come up kind of middle class and so on, we come up soft, and you can't take the pressure sometimes. And that's what we're seeing in some of our athletes right now. When they're on the world stage, they're a bit soft.
Anil, you are so right with that, because I grew up in East Dry River. So I grew up in poverty and in a real difficult area, and you had to learn to really survive. So Anil, as we bring this program to an end, what are your parting words?
Thank you for having me. And the sport discussion could go on for hours and hours, but we who love sport, we have to get away from getting involved in sport only to see about my own son or my cousin or my niece. If we in the Netball Association focus on the talent, sport is a brilliant thing. You don't have to like me. I don't have to like you. Whoever run the fastest win. Whoever is the best footballer, the most skillful, put them on the team. Stop the nepotism. Stop the childishness. Sport is brilliant. Let sport lead us. Don't try to change sport. Sport is pure. Sport is merit. Sport is discipline. Those who work the hardest and don't cheat. And in Trinidad and Tobago, we have to decide. I am zero tolerance for drug cheating and drug doping. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have people carrying our flag who have missed 3 tests and so on. We are inviting people here to teach our children who have served a 2-year ban for drug cheating. And we are confused. We don't know where we're going. We have to decide what we want, when we want it, how we want it, and implement it. Or else you and I will be here in 2028. Boy, we're going to another Olympic, no medal. And you can't do that. You have to plan.
Yes, you have to plan. And thank you very much, Anil. My learning from this is we have to have some kind of vision about what we want from sports. And we don't have a lot of time, but we have to invest in it from now in order to achieve that vision, even if it is in 2036. And between now and then, the
Search
biggest thing
up.
that I think you said was the talk about looking at those high risk areas and trying to get young people from there. So thank you very much, Anil. And this has been Power Conversation. Thank you very much and goodbye. See you on